Yep.
Okay, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order of the September 15th, 2021 regular planning commission. Jackie or Barry, could somebody, or I guess I don't see Jackie, but Jen or Barry, could somebody lead the flag salute, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks, guys. Hey, I'm gonna try to get through this pretty quick. I know we've got a lot of meetings coming up in the coming weeks, so. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes from July 21st?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I would entertain a motion for pass or whatever.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from July.
And was that Sam?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Second. We have a motion to pass the minutes, meeting minutes from July 21st. Commissioner Irons and seconded by Barisi. All in favor. Jen, can you do a roll call, please?
I can. Jennifer,
here,
Carla,
yes,
Zach,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Ethan. Oh, Ethan,
Yes.
Ragnar, I think she's still loading. Okay, and Jacob.
Yes.
Okay.
So but real quick, before we get started, is Ethan a new planning commission member?
Yes, sir.
All right, I didn't know that.
Appointed last
Glad to-
night.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's
He
awesome.
just comes in the tub on the first day.
All right, well, thanks for joining, Ethan.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, so moving into the meeting here. Looks like we have a public hearing tonight. So at this point in time, I'll go ahead and commence the public hearing. The public hearing's purpose is, let me get to this other sheet. Is a variance request for the construction of a fence exceeding height standards for tax lot 600 of Morrow County Tax Map 4 North 25E, Section 9. That's 361 Northeast Turner Court. For the Boardman Regional Crisis Center, this request will be processed using a Class C variance Type 3 procedure in accordance with Boardman Development Code Chapter 4.1.5. Any abstentions? Hearing none, any objections to the jurisdiction? Hearing none. Barry, can you take us through the staff report, please?
In the staff report, it's relatively short. On the 26th of July, 2021, the city received an application for a variance of the fence height from Community Counseling Services for the Regional Crisis Center. The facility will be an inpatient counseling center for at-risk children from 7 to 12 years of age. They will be able to have up to 13 children at a time. The property is located on Turner Court in Sealock Senior Industrial Park. It is tax lot number 600 of Morrow County Tax Map 4 North 25E 09AD. And the address will be 361 Northeast Turner Court. The property is zoned light industrial, chapter 2.4 of the BDC, Boardman Development Code. The use is allowed outright as a public safety facility consistent with subsection 2.4.110.a sub 3 sub a of the BDC. The request for variance is to construct a security fence of 12 feet in height. The allowable fence height in the code, which is more for residential type development, is 6 foot. Security fences are generally taller than this at 8 foot in industrial areas. Building codes require building permit for anything over 7 foot in height. This will be processed as a Class C variance, a type 3 decision due to the discretionary nature of the request. A Class A variance only allows staff to vary by 10%, and this is the full 100% of the limited height of 6 feet. And in the staff report, I put all of the criteria that is necessary to meet, but I'm gonna skip right to the findings of fact. And public notice was posted and published on July 31st, 2021. Design guide for the built environment of behavioral health facilities, edition 7.2, recommends fence heights of 12 to 14 foot heights for this type of facility. The use is an outright allowable use as a public safety facility. Boardman Development Code subsection 2.4.110.a sub 3 sub a. The fence height would be subject to a building permit as it exceeds 7 foot in height. This fence does not enclose the entire property, only the outdoor activities area to the rear of the facility. The Boardman Region summary, the Boardman Regional Crisis Center project will fill a necessary role in dealing with at-risk children 7 to 12 years of age. There is no facility for this type of treatment available in this area, leaving a hole for in coverage. That's it.
All right, thanks, Barry. We have anybody here for the proponent's case to speak on behalf of the project?
I could do that. Do you want me to just start talking?
Sure, that'd be great. Appreciate it.
My name is Kimberly Lindsay. I'm the Director of Community Counseling Solutions. We are the agency that has put forward the application for the facility and for the variance. I'm gonna just try to keep my comments around the fence height. But I think that to get to the fence height, I need to just back in a little bit to the history and the need for this facility. And then talk about the importance of the fence height. Right now, there is no facility in Central or Eastern Oregon that provides this level of care to kids this age. In fact, there's no facility in Central or Eastern Oregon that provides this level of care to kids of any age. Right now, if a kid is in need of subacute services or acute services, they have to go over to the I-5 corridor, with the majority of the facilities being in the Portland area. So it's quite a hardship upon our families to get the kid there, and then there's not enough beds. And then if they're lucky enough to get in, one of the key components of being able to step down to a lower level of care is family therapy. Because sometimes, or maybe often, the family needs to be a part of the solution, and in some cases have been a part of the problem. And so with our families, asking them to drive once or twice a week over to the west side of the state is extremely difficult, even for families that have a lot of resources. So working in this field for the past 25 years and taking kids over sometimes at 2 a.m. to Portland and seeing firsthand the disruption that it causes in the families and in the child's life in a large way due to the distance. I just over time kind of got to my heart, and I can be guilty of talking about all of the problems, and so I try to be thoughtful about that and work towards the solution. There was I won't go into a lot of detail of personal experience in my life that really jump-started this about, I guess it's been about 5 years ago now, and started to look for available land, for a good location, for funding for the project, for supporters for the project. And I'm super pleased where we are now. It's been 5 years in the making, and working with Pinnacle to put together a design concept and move forward with the blueprints. So that's a little bit of the history. I would add that there are kids that are being hoteled and placed in emergency rooms all over the state right now, tonight as we speak. I would guess, I think it's an educated guess, that there are probably 10 kids that are sitting in an emergency room that are in need of this level of care. And the number of kids that are in a hotel room with a child welfare caseworker in need of this level of care is likely higher. So the demand is great, and the need is huge, especially for the east side of the state, where these kids are experiencing an incredible amount of disruption to get needed care and services. The fence height, so I want to first say that we are talking about little kids, smaller kids, 7 to 12 years old. And some of the kids maybe aren't in the best of shape. Some of them come to us heavier. However, when somebody is not in the best state, specifically they're angry, or their fight or flight response has been triggered, people, adults included, can do some pretty amazing things physically. And so kids are no different. And sometimes they can be pretty creative in figuring out ways to work through systems. So you think about a 12-foot high fence, a 4-foot or a 5-foot tall kid, and you might be thinking they probably couldn't get over. But if you stack up a couple of kids, kind of monkey style on top of each other, it doesn't take very long, and a kid can figure out how to, get kids stacked up to get up and over the fence. So if you do the math and you start to think about it, you'd have to have about 3 kids stacked on top of each other, or maybe 4 to get to 12-foot high. And then you start to defy physics a little bit, because that's a set of tumbling blocks that's likely going to come down. But that does highlight a little bit of the need to have it be higher than certainly 6 foot, 7 foot, and 8 foot. The kids will figure out a way to get over it. Not only do we want to be thoughtful about the kids not getting out, and these are young kids, we don't want them roaming around at 2 a.m. I mean, that's horrible for all kinds of reasons that I likely don't need to say. We also don't want bad people coming in. They're going to know that there are at-risk, vulnerable kids. Anybody that's done their research is going to know that this is a facility that has been working with kids, some of whom have been sexually abused. So they can be easy targets. And so we want to make it as difficult for the kiddos to get out as we want to make it for the individuals that could have an inclination to want to try to get in. Now, somebody's going to get super creative. An adult could figure out how to scale it, but they're not gonna just walk up to it and scale it. They're gonna have to do some work to get over the top of it. So those are some of the thoughts that are just coming more quickly. I can talk a lot about the need for the facility and the security features that will be in place. This fence is one of those pieces. I also don't want to bore you with unnecessary details. And I think that might be a good place to stop and see what questions any of you have, or if there's anybody else that wants to talk about the project.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have any questions?
I do have a question or a couple questions for her. So with the height of the fence, is there anything that's gonna be on top of the fence, like barbed wire or anything like that?
No, there wouldn't be barbed wire. We don't want it to feel like a prison to the kids because they're not here typically because they've done something wrong. We just don't want them to feel like they're a criminal.
Okay. And is there gonna be gates into the fence, or is it gonna be 100% sealed?
There will be at least one at one gate into the fence, but of course locked. But yes, there is one break in the fence.
Okay, that's all my questions.
I had one question. This is Zach. I saw that it was, I think it was a 12 or 12 and a half foot fence, whatever the height was. And I saw that you had mentioned as part of the, that was in our enclosed packet, that you were planning on doing some landscaping, I believe it said outside the fence. How high up the fence was that going to go? Was that just going to go up a few feet, or was it to cover the entire height of the fence?
Kimberly, you're muted.
Sorry, I have myself muted. The landscaping is going to be back off of the fence, any bushes and shrubbery. So that can't be used as any kind of a stepping stone for somebody to come up and over it. It will be used visually to make the fence look less imposing and more attractive.
So just more of a beautification of the exterior.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
This is Jacob. I had a couple. I just wanted to, just in my head, I'm looking at the packet here. And so is it just going to look like the black style fence that's in the packet? There's a couple different examples. I was just curious what it was going to look like.
Muted.
Oh, sorry, I keep muting myself. I don't have the packet in front of me. I don't know that we were going to go with the color black. I'm not necessarily a proponent of that color. So I'd be more interested in neutral tones, wood colored tones, or maybe a gray tone. But I think that the style of the fence, that is, yeah, so you have the style and that's been set. The color, no, I say no to black.
Okay, so it's not just like a chain link fence. It's kind of this sectional. It's got 2 or 3 square sections that make it look kind of like a commercial type fence, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's consistent. 12-foot tall fence is consistent with these types of facilities everywhere else.
Well, so minimally, yes, 12 foot tall is the lowest recommended height.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Anybody else?
I don't have a question, but I did notice that in the packet, there's some little red text as you go through it, pointing out to like which style of the fence that they were looking at. It's kind of
Okay.
hard. It's in there. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks. Doesn't sound like there's any more questions, Kimberly. Appreciate it. Is there any other proponents of the case?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
So, yes, I would like to speak. Rick Stocco, Chief of Police for the City of Boardman Police Department. I don't want to get into too much detail. I support Kimberly in this venture and have worked with her to try to place this facility somewhere in Eastern Oregon. I don't think she got into it, but not only are they having a hard time finding a place in Oregon, sometimes they're transferring these kids to Colorado. And could you imagine trying to be a parent who in some cases are supportive and that child looks to that parent to be supportive and not have their parent who's 3 states away, who can't afford to get to another state. So the fact that we're able to get something placed in Oregon is extremely valuable, and not to mention in the eastern part of the state. I'm not trying to shock anybody or give anybody nightmares, but during my career, I've seen these young kids in several different situations. I've been where we've had to cut down a 12-year-old girl who committed suicide. And I can't tell you how hard that is. And the fact that if we had something like this to get that person some help, that maybe that child would still be here today. Now, granted, this did not happen in the state, but it's not the only occurrence. And to think that a 7-year-old or even a 6-year-old would contemplate suicide, I'm here to tell you, if you don't think that that's happening, you're sadly mistaken. It happens on a regular occurrence because of some of the environment, some of the things that have happened to those children. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of influences nowadays. So this is a service that is truly needed in Oregon. I'm excited that we're able to provide this and partner with mental health to bring this to our community. Kimberly and I have had several discussions on how we can work together to make sure that it's a win-win for everybody. And law enforcement is committed to help these kids get on the right track. As far as the fencing issues go, as Kimberly stated, they have 2 missions. One, they need to protect the child and keep the child within that facility. 2, they need to keep bad people from getting into the facility. And I would love to say we don't have any people, especially predatory sex offenders, anywhere in Oregon, but I'm here to tell you they're here. Not necessarily your next door neighbor, but they're here. And so everything we can do to protect that child, I think is imperative. This is being placed in an area where that fence should not be that big of an issue, in my opinion. You've got UEC across this. Well, you got several companies in that area that have fences, and I granted they're not 12 foot tall, but we have them in that area. So I don't think it's going to be an eyesore. I think it's going to be constructed very professionally. And if you look at their CCS's current facilities, they do everything they can to try to keep up with the landscaping. And if not, Karen lets them know. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. I'm very supportive of this venture, and I would really ask that you grant the variance so we can get this project moving. It's just, it's not going to be soon enough. And unfortunately, we will have a need before too long. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Anybody else have any questions for Rick?
No, thank
No,
you.
sir. Thank you for your time.
Hearing none, is there any opponents of the case?
I've heard comments that the 12-foot fence is gonna make it look like a prison. but there's no written testimony from anybody.
Okay, and there's nobody online or anybody there that wants to say anything? Hearing none, we can skip over the cross-examination. Any input from public agencies?
No, sir. Other than the police officers.
All right, I don't think we need to go through rebuttal evidence. At this time, I'll go ahead and close the hearing and begin deliberation by commission. I'll go ahead and start. My position's 100% in support of the project, and whatever fence is necessary in that area is okay with me. Anybody else?
I second your comments, Jacob. This is Carla. This is very exciting and I can't wait for it to be open. So yeah, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, this is Zach. I'd like to just echo that. I'm 100% in support of this. It's really amazing to see this, a facility like this in the area. It's been really needed for a long time, so very supportive of it.
Well, if there's no other comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 12-foot fence. Is that okay? I don't know.
Yeah. Do we hear a second?
I'll
Yeah,
second that.
it. Ooh, close.
Zach, you already seconded it, so I'm gonna go ahead and let Jennifer. So we have a motion to approve the 12-foot variance on the fence. We have a second by Carla. We have a second by Commissioner. Sorry, Jennifer. I think it's is it Layton? Well, second by Jennifer.
Yes.
All those are Jen. Can you do a roll call vote, please?
I can. Jennifer,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Ragnar,
Aye.
Zach,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Ethan,
Yes.
and Jacob.
Yes. So motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Rick and Kimberly, for spending your time and coming and talking to us.
Thank you for your support, and I hope to see you all at the open house and ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yeah, we look forward to it.
I'd like to thank Kimberly and Rick for coming in to testify tonight on such short notice. Thank you very much.
Thanks for letting me know, Barry. Appreciate it.
All right, so any, moving on, doesn't look like there's any discussion items. Is there anything that's came up, Barry, you want to discuss or anything? Or are we good?
That was all we had for now. We'll do, get everything for swearing in at the next meeting for Ethan.
Okay, and if we end up, yeah, I was gonna look into that too, Barry. If we end up having to swear him in, we might want to step back and swear in a couple other people because I don't think we've sworn in a few. I don't even remember if I got sworn in when I was here. So it's a good point, Rick. Thanks for pointing that out, and we'll dig into it. All right, well, yeah, if that's all we want to talk about, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting this time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night, everyone.
Right.